Welcome back to the Ed Show. And finally tonight, Republican lawmakers in Georgia are following Arizona's lead and jumping on the birther bandwagon. They are proposing legislation that would require all presidential candidates, including President Obama, when he's up for re-election, to prove that they are, and he was, born in the United States and are United States citizens. And the lead sponsor of the bill, State Representative Mark Hatfield, claims he's not actually a birther, even though he says there's no proof that President Obama was born in the United States. Georgia State Representative Mark Hatfield joins me now here on the Ed Show. Mr. Hatfield, nice to have you with us tonight. I want to clarify. Thank you, Ed. You bet. I want to clarify a couple things. You're not a birther, is that correct?
I don't consider myself a birther. I think a birther has been defined as a person who believes that the president was not born inside the United States. I'm not saying that. I simply don't have enough information to make a decision one way or another where he was born.
If the state of Georgia were to tell me, Ed Schultz, that Mark Hatfield was born in Georgia, I guess there would be an element of belief that I would say, well, I guess this Mr. Hatfield was an American and he's born in Georgia. Hawaii state officials have verified President Obama's place of birth. Why wouldn't you take their word for it?
Well, Ed, these cryptic statements that have been coming out of the state of Hawaii are not really sufficient to make any sort of determination on. The state of Hawaii, as I understand it, has produced a certificate of live birth that is something that any person could be issued, even if they were not born inside the state of Hawaii, if their birth was registered in Hawaii.
But Mr. Hatfield, there are millions of Americans who don't have their original birth certificate that for proof they'd have to go to the state capital of where they were born, and you'd be getting a copy of it, and that's what President Obama has? That's not good enough?
I don't think that anyone has seen his original long-form birth certificate, Ed, but that's not the issue here. The issue here is that we've got a population in this country which, at least based on a recent CBS New York Times poll, at least 42% of our population has doubts about the citizenship of our president. That's a problem.
Well, that's, of course, been purported by those on right-wing radio in this country, and you know how low information voters are. The numbers that you're talking about, where was the president born? 58% of Americans believe he was born in the United States. Now, where I come from, that's a pretty strong majority. You're not a birther. Well, go ahead.
It may be a majority, Ed, but the problem is this. I believe that no American citizen should ever have any doubts about the legitimacy and the citizenship of the highest elected official
Hatfield,
in the land.
There's always going to be people out there that are going to question somebody for political purposes. I mean, doesn't this all this birther talk come from just a dislike and actually a hatred for President Obama? That's where all this started. It all started on right-wing radio. You know that.
No, not at all, Ed. I think you're going off in the wrong direction here. The president holds all the cards in this scenario. The president himself could release the records to show and document exactly where he was born. He could release the records that show where he went to college and what he did in college, and he can release his passport. These are things that are completely within his control, and he has chosen not to show those to the American people, and people are asking why.
Mr. Hatfield, he has shown them to the American people. The White House has shown them to the American people. The Hawaiian state officials have verified his birthplace, but for some reason, there's people that just don't want to go along with it because they just don't like the fact. You say you're not a birther. Have you had constituents come to you in Georgia and say, hey, you've got to introduce this legislation?
People in Georgia are very strongly supportive of this legislation, Ed, and I'll tell you why. Because the United States Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, says very plainly that only a natural-born citizen may hold the office of President of the United States. And American people know what it says, but you mean to tell me that the majority of people in Georgia think that the president wasn't born in the United States? I believe the majority of people in Georgia want to see the constitutional requirements enforced. Currently, there is no teeth to that provision. Congress has done nothing to give any teeth to the Article 2, Section 1 provision. And if Congress fails to act, then I think the states have a duty to step up and do so.
Okay, so you want the President of the United States to show up with his original birth certificate, although millions of Americans can't do that. Okay.
I disagree with you there, Ed. I'd be glad to show mine if I'm running for president. I'm sure that I would be prepared to produce any documentation necessary to show that I'm an American citizen.
And you know it. He's an American citizen. You know it. This is trumped up stuff. And just admit the fact that you're not going to go along with any answer that he gives you. Mr. Hatfield, I appreciate your...
With all due respect, the bottom line is when there's no other argument to be made, it just becomes a hollering contest to see how hard someone can holler to drown out
Well, I'm not hollering,
opposition.
sir. I'm not hollering at all. I'm just saying that this is misguided legislation, and I think you know he's an American. Good to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for letting me be with you, Ed.
You bet.